We also are seeing that Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke is going to be the latest one to fall from the Trump administration. He is resigning, and some are calling it under pressure, forced resignation. He is facing a number of ethics investigations into his business dealings, his travel, and his policy decisions. Trump tweeted on Saturday morning, quote, Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke will be leaving the administration at the end of the year after having served for a period of almost 2 years. I thought it was funny that he wrote that because he's trying to make it seem like he was there for a really long time because everyone is just leaving that administration, right. Of course, before the new Congress is sworn in January and subpoenas start flying.
That's right.
That's really what it comes down to. As I mentioned, Zinke, though, himself is the subject of several federal investigations, and one of them has been referred to the Justice Department by a top watchdog, one of his real estate dealings. So that we could see a potential criminal investigation out of that. Beyond his shady real estate deal, Zinke was faulted for allowing his wife to travel in government vehicles. That's against department policy. He also used $12,000 of your money, taxpayers, to take a charter plane after he spoke to a hockey team, which coincidentally is owned by one of his biggest donors. But don't expect this to be the last person to leave the Trump administration. I mean, it really could happen over the next few days. We are hearing reports that we could see Wilbur Ross exit, who's the Commerce Secretary, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, and even Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen.
Yep. Rats jumping ship, y'all. It is happening.
Everyone out.
All right. Thank you, Brittany.
You're welcome.
866-99-SIRIUS. Joining us now, the president of the National Medical Association, Dr. Niva LubinJohnson. Doctor, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great, Mark, and you, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you once again. Of course, we're all doing, I guess, relatively great. It is a holiday season, but in the midst of it, we've got this court ruling undermining the ACA.
Yes, that was very unfortunate on Friday evening. The judge waited until after the courts closed to decide that he declared the ACA unconstitutional. Hopefully, greater, more sane minds will prevail, and that will get changed on appeal or the Supreme Court. But the basis for his ruling was that the removal of the individual mandate, which was now referred to as a tax, caused the whole act to be unconstitutional. And there are critics of this ruling that are saying that that ruling is on shaky ground. So hopefully there will be a better outcome.
What do you think was the immediate impact of this ruling? Because now, wasn't the deadline Friday? When was the deadline?
The deadline for enrollment was Saturday.
So
Saturday at 11:59 p.m.
How many people?
One impact of the ruling could be people didn't understand and may not have chosen to enroll.
Yeah,
that could be an immediate impact.
That seems like it might have even been purposeful.
It does. To wait until after the close of business on Friday to do this, and really not having anyone to talk to verify whether you could enroll or not potentially. That could be an issue. And so we know enrollment was already down because this administration chose to, A, decrease the enrollment period, and B, do little to no marketing about the opportunity for enrolling, which was truly unfortunate this year because this year most premiums decreased in cost for the next year.
So at the moment, is the ruling having been made, has that struck it down altogether, or are we kind of in a holding pattern until further appeals in the court?
We are in a holding pattern right now. Fortunately, there was not an injunction against being part of the program issued on Friday. So people who have enrolled currently, who have insurance through ACA, you still have your insurance. And if you enrolled for next year, you will have your insurance. Even if this goes and it is struck down, probably the earliest it would be that this gets dismantled would be 2020.
And what do you think are the chances of it being dismantled? This is probably going to go to the Supreme Court, isn't it?
I believe it may end up with the Supreme Court. I'm hopeful that it will not be struck down. You look at the ruling last week or week before that went in favor of Planned Parenthood and who sided with them, and a couple of Republicans on the Supreme Court sided with Planned Parenthood, and hopefully those same would side with this. This would be devastating. Mm-hmm. I just watched a report that stated that insurance premiums could go up by 25% if this is struck down. Mm-hmm. And the part of the reason is, and part of the reason that premiums went down for next year, is that we're finally getting to the place where we're truly seeing some benefits in terms of people getting treated for very common illnesses like hypertension and diabetes, right. And we're decreasing, those long-term complications like heart attack and stroke. People are getting preventive care. I mean, Medicare, this is affecting patients who are eligible for Medicare, whereas part of the ACA was coverage for any preventive service if you're over 65. So you're talking about colonoscopies, okay, which prevent colon cancer. Colonoscopy is the only screening exam that prevents a cancer. Mammograms, PSAs for prostate cancer, those are early detection. And so we're finally getting to the point where you're seeing some benefits from so many changes that have afforded better health care for our citizens.
Because the bottom line, too, is, we want to get out of this culture of people making the emergency room the primary care physician.
Definitely. And this has done that. People having more access to a primary care physician, an internist, a family physician, a pediatrician, an OB-GYN. Having that access to go and staying out of the emergency room is something else that also has afforded lower premiums for next year.
And this also has a disproportionate impact on African Americans, doesn't it?
Oh, clearly. I mean, it's more of us who are uninsured still. It's better, but we still are. I mean, you look at the numbers for unemployment of black people. We are 2-3 times more in terms of those who are unemployed than not. And so the ACA, with Medicaid expansion in those states that have chosen to do Medicaid expansion, has helped those who are unemployed to get Medicaid and to have health care. So it definitely affects us more so. And it has helped us more so because of the disparities in care. Disparities haven't gone away, but they have definitely improved because of ACA.
And when we look at black doctors as well, I mean, the industry itself is better served when people are going to see the doctor regularly, getting pre-screened, right, as opposed, because every doctor in an emergency room, everything can't function in emergency room, and we see what's happening with some of our black hospitals. We just, I think, averted a crisis at Howard University. I think in the past year, averted a crisis at Meharry. But even in those situations, everyone is better served when people can go to the doctor or go visit doctors in hospitals to deal with preventative medicine, correct?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you want to be able to have a relationship with a physician to avoid having to go to the emergency room. I'm a general internist, and I recently closed my practice earlier this year, but I told my patients always, call me if you really think you need to go to the emergency room. I don't care what time of the day or night it is. Most of the time, you don't need to go. I can see you the next day. And that decreases the amount of non-emergent patients in the emergency room, but it also allows me to take better care of my patients. I'm seeing them instead of an emergency room physician who doesn't know, everything that I know about them. And so it saves time and money for the patient. It saves time for those who need emergent care in the emergency room. So you want people to come into an office to get their medical care.
In the New York Times article, It writes, when the Supreme Court upheld the mandate as constitutional in 2012, it was based on Congress's taxing power. Congress, the court said, could legally impose a tax penalty on people who do not have health insurance. But in the new case, the 20 plaintiff states led by Texas argued that with the penalty zeroed out, and that's because of the tax overhaul that the Trump taxes, the Trump tax bill, with the penalty zeroed out, the individual mandate had become unconstitutional, and the rest of the law could be severed from it. The Justice Department's response to the case was highly unusual. Though it disagreed with the plaintiffs that the entire law should be struck down, it declined to defend not just the individual mandate, but the law's provisions that protect people with pre-existing conditions. So if you take away the individual mandate, you take away protections for people with individual with pre-existing conditions, Dr. Lubin-Johnson, you pretty much scuttle the whole act.
Well, it's not just taking away the pre-existing conditions. That clause. This would take away, like I said before, the coverage for Medicare patients for preventive care. It would take away the coverage for young adults remaining on their parents' plans until age 26 also. It would take away we removed the caps on coverage of insurers for policies. It would take away that too. So it would taking away the ACA would take away all of these things that came with it, in addition to coverage, which in reality will set us back in terms of health care costs being the number one cause for bankruptcy. Since the ACA, no health care cost is no longer the number one reason for filing bankruptcy, because we've removed those limits that's on insurance coverage. So this could be ultimately very devastating. If you don't have a pre-existing condition, somebody you live with or is your child or is your mom or your dad has one.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
So that's a reality.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's scariest. Dr. Niva LubinJohnson, the National Medical Association. What, 24 minutes past the hour, quick calls, folks, 866-99-SERIOUS. What are some of the things the NMA is going to be doing in the interim? Has the NMA joined with some of the others who in the court filings as an amicus brief to try and defend the Affordable Care Act? Is the NMA a part of that?
We have not been part of the amicus brief, but we want to join with the other organizations that have filed the amicus brief. Also, we're going to encourage Congress to pass a resolution when they come back in session in January to join the defense of this. Even though the Justice Department chose not to, now that we have a Democratic Congress, House of Representatives, they can now pass a resolution that they will join on the defense of this ruling. And so that, I believe, would be very helpful as it goes through the legal stages.
All right. Lastly, Dr. Lubin-Johnson, on a somewhat related issue, the NMA, has the NMA taken a position on Medicare for all?
Oh, the National Medical Association has been a proponent for universal health care for many years. We supported the creation of Medicaid and Medicare in 1964. We were in the White House at the signing of those bills. AMA did not support the creation of Medicare and Medicaid initially. Also, NMA supported the ACA as it came about in Congress. I was actually in D.C. the night that ACA was passed, and many of us went up on the Hill to celebrate its passage. Our then 110th president was present when President Obama signed the ACA into law. So we have been a proponent for as much access as possible to everyone. We believe that health care is a right, not a privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, the National Medical Association, follow them on Twitter @NationalMed, ASSN, for updates. And we thank you, Dr. Lubin-Johnson, the president of the NMA, for updating us on the NMA's position. This is a fight we have to continue to be involved in. Thank you, Dr. Lubin-Johnson, and happy holidays to you and your loved ones, okay?
Thank you so much for having me again, Mark. I look forward to returning anytime you want to have me.
Absolutely.
And happy holidays to you and your family also.
You're always welcome on the show. Thank you, Dr. Niva LubinJohnson. Take care now.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Dana's in Maryland. Dana, God bless you. Good morning. Get ready for impeachment. Go right ahead. Dana, are you there?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Hold on.
Okay, well, she's putting us on hold.
Hi, sorry.
Uh-huh.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to comment on that tweet this morning, just recently, where he's just essentially saying that Kavanaugh is going to go ahead and, rule in his favor.
Did he actually use Kavanaugh's name?
Yeah. Well, no, but he said Supreme Court, and I believe capital letters. Quiet. Sorry. So I'm just saying, without using his name, but he said, new Supreme Court, something with the Supreme Court, essentially saying he's going to get his way. And my problem also, my grandma lost her family in the Holocaust. I've told you this. And the numbers on the arm marks. This is not subtle, right? They're not pimping Stephen Miller out there at night for subtlety. Okay, they're trying to, it's a humiliation tactic. You're an other, a subhuman.
Mm-hmm.
And they're breaking the law, Mark. And I understand, I know you've been on the show. Sometimes they're hard to watch because everybody on there is saying it's illegal. It's illegal. They're tricking people. They're pushing them away from the legal points of entry. And everyone's on there, from lawyers to Joe Schmo saying it's illegal. Why are they getting away with it? There's been 3 judges, Mark, 3, that have said you need to give the kids back. You need to do this. You can't, they're holding people in these ice boxes. Have you seen that? By the hundreds. They're not meant for that. And if it's so illegal, why isn't someone busting them? Is it me?
Well,
it's criminal.
Yeah, I agree.
Follow the money of these people running these tent camps, Mark. I'm sure they're making money hand over fist. How hard is it to find out, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I just don't get it.
I agree with you, but just back to your statement about the Affordable Care. We have the tweet. The deductible which comes with Obamacare is so high that it's practically not even usable, which he misspelled usable. Hurts families badly. We have a chance working with the Democrats to deliver great health care. A confirming Supreme Court decision will lead to great health care results for Americans.
I mean, that reads to me essentially saying he's going to get the dunk.
Right. And that's what those Supreme Court appointments were about.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why he's doing this, exactly, to ingratiate himself and enrich himself. That's why he wanted to be president, Mark. That's the only reason. They're grifting in every corner, every orifice. They're grifting. No shame at all. Zinke comes out, denying everything, blaming others. Have they ever thanked the American people? It was a pleasure to work for you, because that's what they do, right? And instead they're out there, ass-kissing Biff. Oh, it's such an honor to work for the president. What about the American people, you douchebag? You fucking criminals. All of them, Mark. All of them. Criminals. And I don't understand this border stuff. Somebody needs to go to jail and tell me we're not going to hear in a week or the next couple days that the father didn't say that. He wasn't with her when she died. I mean, all this shit's going to come out. It does every single time. She knew she was out of a job, so she morphed into Ava Braun, and now she's, I'm sure she got a raise. Ms. Nielsen.
We'll get ready for impeachment. Go right ahead.
Hey, how you doing there, Mark?
Fine. How are you?
Good, good. Let's see, with his almighty powers, cancer. I have here. This what really gets me to calling, folks every week and every day, because I have in front of me a surgical pathology report from 2016. Happens to belong to me. Okay. Now the only reason I'm here, I have to tell, differentiated to well differentiated adenocarcinoma ascending colon, tumor invaded into the submucosa, okay? Margins negative, 13 benign pericolonic lymph nodes negative, all right? When the physician handed me, the surgeon handed me this report after a couple of weeks of I had the surgery, he says, man, what this thing says, you showed up on the right day, the right moment, at the right time. Affordable health, Obamacare works. Obamacare saved my life. All right. So when some, and this is Henry Ford and Mar, and I'm a damn pharmacist. Okay, so I should know something about healthcare. All right, Mar, I don't throw my credentials around. I'm also a dentist. Graduated from University of Michigan, graduated from pharmacy school at Florida A&M University. I own a pharmacy, all right? And you're going to sit here and tell me that affordable health care does not work? Hell, this is the kind of stupidity that I'm an example, a living example of why Obamacare works, all right? So
in other words, you wouldn't be alive. In other words, you wouldn't be alive without it.
You damn right. You damn right.
I got you.
And on top of that, I was so lucky I didn't even need chemotherapy. That's what happened. I was followed out for a whole year. So when we get these damn fool decisions that are made by stupid-ass judges that are appointed by this administration, here's what we need to do. This is why this president is in contempt of his oath of office and in contempt of the Constitution of the United States, and he has to be impeached. And we have to do three things. Again, I say it again. We have to go after his enablers, and we have to go after his benefactors. In other words, all these federal judges that he has put on his court, because he need to be removed, because he was elected by an ill-gotten gain.
That's right.
Racketeering.
Okay.
And therefore, like any other racketeer, we must go after Trump properties. Whole organization. That's what we're talking about here. But again, I'm happy to be, if I got to be poster child and call every damn week about this Affordable Health Care Act, I'll call about it, because this is the kind of stuff that gets me going. It saved my life, and I want to know how many more people are out here. You heard the doctor. Colonoscopy is the most preventative thing. When I had it 10 years ago, when I came back, they found I had cancer.
I got you.
Now, come on, man.
Yes,
anybody who ever says that the Affordable Health Care is a damn liar, a goddamn liar, and a MF liar. That's all I have to say, man.
Thank you, Norm. Happy holidays to you, man. Enjoy the holiday season. 866-99-SIRIUS, 866-997-4748, 24 minutes before